Welcome everybody to this video presentation on Canada and the Emergency Act. I'd like to just look at some of the things that Canada is doing here, but particularly what Canada is in terms of a G7 country. And you know, the Bible talks about at the end times a seven-head, 10-horned beast. And we're just wondering, where does Canada fit in on this? You know, Canada is one of the G7 countries, and I notice every time this group gets together, there's always 8, and you can see them because it includes the European Union. So there's actually 8, and the Bible talks about in Revelation about a 7-head, 10-horned beast, and I wonder if this is not it. You know, the G7 is the 7 heads, and the European Union, which is quite a few members right now, but according to Revelation 17:12, they, 1 hour with the beast, these 10 kings will become one kingdom. And we're looking at European sovereignty right now. It's very close. So I think this is the setup, and Canada is part of it. You know, Canada brings in an emergency act to stop protests. Is that not a little extreme? But even if it's justified, you know, I think it's a wake-up call for Canadians that if we think everything is going to be normal, we got another thing coming, because we are approaching, you know, the last days here, and we should expect, you know, some of what the Book of Revelation says to start happening. Our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, you know, they've got freedom of conscience, religion, thought, belief, opinion, expression, peaceful assembly, association, right to gain livelihood, and we have legal rights of life, liberty, and the security of the person, and you know, and then equality rights. But this security of the person, I've been told that you know, I have the right to do with my body what I want, you know, like a vaccine. If I want a vaccine, I can have it. If I don't, I can refuse it. And a lot of people agree with that, you know. And you know, the country didn't say, you know, there's no law against not having a vaccine, and that's for truth in Canada. But that right is it is not without discrimination, you see. There's the key, you know, because if you don't get vaccinated, then you can't go to the gym, you can't travel, you know, you're called, I don't know, maybe a bunch of bad names, and you could lose your job for even talking about it. Now with this act coming in, this emergency act, you could be targeted for associating with people like that. And so what do you mean it's not without discrimination? You see, it is. You're discriminating against a certain group that do not want to get vaccinated, and you're saying we're going to have 100% vaccination, and that 10% we're gonna beat and hammer until you get vaccinated. Well, guess what? That's against the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So what does the Emergency Act do that allows the setting aside of some of these freedoms, like the stopping the legal protest, arresting protesters, seizing bank accounts, you know, prosecute those who were protesting according to the law, you know, and whereas they couldn't be before under the Act. So, you know, confiscating money that was given, and then checking those people out who gave and putting them on a hit list, or not a hit list, but a list of, you know, people to run surveillance on. So what I think this is really, it hasn't happened yet, but this is how G7 countries could bring in the mark of the beast. You know, the Ukraine just invoked an emergency act just today. But they are close to war. They have 200,000 troops around them, Russian troops. I think And they just did it today. Canada did it a week ago. And would they have some protesters hanging around Ottawa? The provinces are already broke up the border protests. And so, they had to invoke it though, invoke it. So isn't that an overreach? So, Trudeau calls the unvaccinated racist, misogynist, extremist. That's against the charter right there. You can't discriminate against people who decide they want the security, they have the right not to get vaccinated. It's part of the Charter of Rights. But you're discriminating against them with these accusations. And then you can add criminals, terrorists, fascists. So, what is Canada here? What's going on? We're a member of the G7. Trudeau talks about joining the EU. And I think that's probably, we've already joined it in some ways. We're already in the G7, and they all meet together, and the 8th is the European Union leader. And so they're already meeting together, they're all eating out of the same dish. And so, why would you have to join them? You're already joined to them. Your policies show it. So you're already in it, And this is this 7-head, 10-horn beast I was saying, the book of Revelation talks about. And before the end of the age, we know from Daniel's image that God is going to strike that image, that statue, and the one on his feet, and the whole thing will come tumbling down. And so this is, I believe, it. If you look at, as I said before, this G7 European Union, we get the 7 heads in the G7, and in the in the European Union, we get the 10 horns. So there it is. The G7, that's the 7 heads and 10 horns. So this is the beast. I'm going to write that if I can. This is the scarlet beast. And Canada is one of the members of it. So why should we be surprised? And what's the mark of the beast? You see, it's going to be a mark, and it hasn't come in yet. It's not the vaccine, but they're using this same totalitarian kind of pushing. It's going to bring it in by maybe an emergency act. 7 heads and 10-horned beast. Revelation 17:3 says, "So he carried me away into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet beast." And there it is, full of blasphemous names. They're not speaking for Christ. They're speaking Antichrist. And having 7 heads and 10 horns. And so this woman who sits on it is called Babylon. Right? So this whole thing, this whole thing becomes like Babylon. And, we know what God's going to do with that image. I'll look at that here in a sec. Here it is in Daniel. Daniel chapter 2, he sees a vision of this statue. And it has head of gold, silver, bronze, and these are just, this was Babylon, and this was Medo-Persia. I better get a red one. And this was Greece, had 4 heads, and this was Rome. And so, and then this one at the very end, a stone come out of a mountain, which is Christ, and struck it on the feet, and the whole thing come tumbling down. So in this whole image, we have the 7 heads and 10 horns. So what's interesting is when this thing comes tumbling down, it comes down at the same time So these were prophetic, yes, of Babylon and all this, but there was only a type, like a prophecy of the end times one, which I've just showed you. And so this is, and what's going to happen to this? It's going to get struck in the feet. And, whoever doesn't, worship the image of the beast or worship the beast or take, the mark of the beast, they won't be able to buy or sell. So this is it. We have it right, this G7 European Union, we have it right in front of us, and Canada is a part of it. So this isn't some conspiracy theory. The Bible predicts it. So Canada is one of the G7, one of the 7 heads. I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And this is just the scarlet beast. And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. See, the crowns are going to be on the horns, and in the image of Daniel, the feet, there's 10 toes, and so this is where the power is going to be, and that's, I said, that's the EU, and the rest of the body is the 7, G7, and so, but together they form the 7-head, 10-horn beast, and that's what the Bible predicts, the Book of Revelation, and there will be a mark, and it'll be 666. Say, well, that's far-fetched, but I don't know. As we start seeing what's going on here, it's not the vaccine, but it's all the laws and rules around it that they're bringing in. So I just want to show you some of these things. I hope you enjoy this video and see some other videos. God bless.